Charme, Nini, peace and freedom. Welcome. I'm Reverend Dr. Queen Mother Imaku, and it's my pleasure to be with you here on this evening and to be able to share and fellowship in a time that is so crucial right now in our history. But I'll get to that. I'm hoping that everybody had a really wonderful day. I hope the weekend has been great. When I was with you the other night, I was talking about ancestor season and how it affects all of us all over the world and how it is practiced in various traditions, particularly in the ATRs, African traditional religions. And I had the opportunity yesterday to spend a wonderful amount of time reflecting on my ancestors and just being in that energy. And in fact, I ended up going to the cemetery where my mother, my stepdad, and my grandparents are. It was quite an emotional experience because I have not been there since my mother passed away in 2020. And going was just a little bit too much, especially with everything that I'd been dealing with. And going yesterday was a time of wonderful fellowship, if you will, rejoicing, but also a lot of sadness because, I miss my family. And I saw the renewed sense of duty that there is in visiting the cemetery, keeping it up, bringing flowers there. That's what my mother used to do. And I really forgot about that yesterday. And I have to say, I assumed another relative would be going and visiting and bringing flowers because who used to go with my mother, but that hasn't been happening. So that's the way that it goes. And when you know better, you do better. So I hope that you all have had a wonderful time in terms of dealing with your ancestors. And I can tell you, I feel renewed and a little more grown up, indeed. So today we're going to be talking about Nuit. And most of you are familiar with her. She's depicted as a woman who is arched over the earth. And actually, it is a very clever way of illustrating the Milky Way. If you compare the image of Newt arched over the earth and touching her hands and feet into the earth, along with the Milky Way, then you see the correlation. But, with the Kemetic system, if you will, or tradition or culture, everything is multi-layered, everything. And so you have to really look more deeply into the stories that are told around the different guardians and the science that goes along with it as well, but also bottom line, it's always about how it relates to you. And so that's what we'll be getting into this evening, but we'll be first starting with ceremony. Brandon, good evening. It's good to see you. Maat Ray, glad to see you too. Give thanks and praise. Please, you all like and share. If you're on YouTube, just hit that like button for, and also subscribe so that way you're able to get notifications. And also, if you're on Facebook, please make sure to like and share as well. We're going to have another rich evening of fellowship. Not too long. The other night we went long because it had been a while since I'd been on, and also had a lot of information to share regarding that subject matter. So hopefully you saw the notification ahead of time and you were able to get ready for the Hewitt Karest that we always do, which is the Kemetic Eucharist. And if you want to take a little minute now while you're listening to grab some red juice and put it in a little cup and a piece of bread. The Chaffers, well, haven't seen you. Oh my goodness. I hope that you are well. Please feel free to contact me because, we're in the same locale sort of. So look forward to hearing from you. And, for those of you who are regulars online, I do hope at some point to be able to meet you all. Well, I hope it's going to be cool. Sometimes you meet some people, they're like, oh, wow, I've been following you, and you're like, is this who you are? Although they could be thinking the same thing about me. But this is such a wonderful time of fellowship, and it's so great when all the names come up with the people that I've known who've been following me over the years, and it's a humbling experience. It's a blessing. Thank you so much for allowing me into your life, and thank you for being part of mine. Let us continue to grow and move forward as Shanu continues to grow. Shanu Comedic True Living Waters Ministries, okay, and online school, which I decided I'm ready to start again. Sometimes it just takes some healing. It just takes some time to work yourself through some things to get yourself to that next phase of life, right? And or go to be able to go back and get something, to have that personal Sankofa moment and to go back and retrieve some of the things that you've left behind. This year has been the year of retrieving, and I'm grateful for healing and grateful for you all. Okay, so, you also want to grab a glass of water. Now, usually you're used to seeing me with a nice, beautiful goblet. Wow, I'm so glad. I'm glad to know that y'all are well. So, listen. I've been getting a kick out of drinking from this, and then I also have one that's rhinestone studded. It helps you to remember, first of all, because this is gold, the idea that we're supposed to be polishing our lives like gold, noob, okay, or neb. And plus, this is pretty, right? So I'm going to be speaking my power words, my affirmations, my hekau into this, and I have my water in here. So you want to grab a glass of water, whatever your favorite glass is. It could be a favorite mug with a favorite expression on it, something that makes you feel good. I drink from things that make me feel good. I buy mugs that make me feel good. Everything that is in your life should make you feel good and reinforce the fact that you deserve to live well. We'll be talking about that too, okay? Now, also, we're going to be pouring libation to the ancestors. If you'd like to join me in that, you're able to, but usually I do it here for all of us. Atef, how are you? It's so good to see you. Atef and Jetty, give thanks and praise. I'm so happy to see you. She's Muse. Hey, how you doing? It's good to see you. Oh, Muchelli. You know what? In my mind, I'm like, I know that name. Muchelli, how are you this evening? Okay. Oh, then also, like I said, you want to grab for our Hewitt Caress, a little piece of bread or a cookie and a little red beverage you can put into a small glass. It doesn't have to be big, or even if you don't have a small glass, just take a regular glass and put just a little of the red liquid in it. If you don't have it, then water is fine. Okay. And that'll be coming toward the end of our message today. So let's get started and open the way. I'm using the smaller shoe because the other one can be a bit, it kind of throws the sound off. It's very loud. So give thanks as we call on Beset and Bestu. You're in Kemet right now? Oh my, who did you go with? You tell me this is an opening. Let me get my focus back. But who did you go with? Are you there with no, who'd you go with? In our community, we travel back and forth to Kemet often. We have those that we know who go over on a regular basis and bring people on tours because they know the terrain, they know the history, and they know what to watch out for, and they're connected with people who are trustworthy. So give thanks. Okay, let's start again. And how is the music level? You've been living there for 2 years? Are you there with Jabari? Wait, you did tell me this. See, this is, again, being out of touch on a music residency. Oh my goodness. You really have to get in touch with me. That's so exciting. Wow. Yes, as you see, Brandon says congrats to you. That's wow. And as a musician, I can't even imagine. It must be so rich. So rich. Oh, wow. I was supposed to be going to Cuba this month, but because of everything that's going on in the world and because of the fact that I lead a number of different organizations, including this ministry, I I went to Oracle and Oracle said, "You ain't going." So, hey, and um, for me to put my energy more into helping to build community, which is the subject tonight. And that's I'm always talking about building community, building community, building community. So I had to defer, and I'll just catch it next time with the artists who are going. I was really excited to be able to go, but listen, I must be obedient. Okay. Okay. Let me remind you also the top of things. Please visit the website. Tef, how's the new business doing? Please give me a call to catch up, okay? You know, hearing how progress is flowing for folks, just like Muchelia just opened up a brand new studio spa boutique. I love hearing about progress and hearing about the Chaffers being over in Kemet. And all of this is so encouraging. It's encouraging to one another, but also it reminds us about moving, not being stagnant, going after your dreams, achieving your dreams, believing in yourself, and having people around you, community, to support you in your dream, and also, especially in your business. It's a beautiful thing. It's an absolutely beautiful thing. Please feel free to be speaking of business and having put my business cap back on, please visit my website, imaku.info. You'll see that I've uploaded some new music that is downloadable. And also, please visit my online store. You'll find some new goodies in there as well. As everything is coming back together, back on track, give thanks. And I have to say honestly, I'm at the point now where I can say, give thanks and praise for the lessons and the blessings that have come out of this long cycle of seeming, well, no, it was dark. I was going to say seeming darkness, but it was dark, but coming out of darkness and into the light. If you hang in there and if you get a supportive community around you, and of course, therapy helps a lot, okay? Then you can progress forward and you will move beyond it. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and you'll find that the light is so sweet, so sweet. I'm also at the point now where I'm finding that a lot of people who were not too nice to me during that time have been coming and apologizing to me. That's nice, you know? And also a necessary part of the healing, because it's not always cool to have all these wedges in community, and especially when you're uncomfortable because of some situations where people have been cruel, and whereas prior to that they were nice to you, but then some people like to kick you when you're down. That's when you really find out who's who. When there are people who really just look forward to taking advantage of you because they've either admired you, and now when you're down in the dirt they find a chance to be able to try to keep you there. They've got their shoe in your neck. Or the best of them comes out and they do what they can to help to lift you back up and support you. Whoever is around you is of utmost importance. And so again, we'll be talking about that in dealing with the concept of community through Nuit. Atef says the new business has been good and busy. I will thank you. Well, we'll look forward to it. Give thanks. Okay, so let's start. with this prayer that I do every morning. And I'm learning not to fight when I need assistance in things, including vision. It's important to be able to know when to ask for help and when to seek help out for different things. Nukpu nukku amiku kemam keperum nechurkau. Nukwa em enu enku emuku ankuja seneb. I am that I am, a shining being who dwells in light, who came into existence from the limbs of the Creator. I am one of those shining beings who dwells in light, life, health, strength. Imagine yourself encased in an orb of light, beautiful, shimmering, gold, white, silver, swirling all around you. And now, starting from the top of your head, we're going to connect with the higher self through Kheri and pulling in energy from above. The higher self is connected to the divine. It is our divine self. Pulling the energy in through Kheri, the crown, vibrant white, silver, gold, lavender. And now pulling the energy into your brow. A beautiful indigo, deep purplish blue. Your first eye. And now let's pull it down into the throat, nefret. A beautiful royal blue. And now into the heart area, hat, also known as ib, beautiful green, lush, vibrant. And now between the rib cage at the solar plexus, sunkti. Let's take a moment to breathe. Sarek, nifa. Sarek, nifa. Sarek, nifa. Relax your breathing. Sunkti is a vibrant yellow, yellow of the sun. And now pulling the energy down to the navel area, the sacral, musekrer, a joyous orange. Feel the energy vibrating, the creative space. Now pulling the energy down to your tailbone and legs, rich red, the root, rud, rud. As you are feeling the energy go down your legs, you're feeling stability. And let's sit up nice and straight, appreciating the correctness of the spine. How the spine supports us. And now you're going to pull all of the energy from your orb into your entire being. This beautiful energy of light, of purity, of strength, of clarity. Inhale, Sarek. Exhale, Nifa. Sarek. Nifa. Last time, Sarek. Nifa. Relax your breathing. Open your eyes. Expand your fingers. And relax. And make a fist as tight as you can. Tight, 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 tight. And let it go. Shake it out. And rubbing your hands together. Washing the hands. Interlace fingers and stretch. And let it go. Into dancing hands. All right, relax your hands down. You can place them on your thighs. And let's grab our water to do the water prayer. And let's speak these loving words into our water. Always express your appreciation with water and the water in your body that sustains you. Nuk webenu, wenebu, per emnu, muti punut. I am the sacred plant that grows from Nu. My mother is Nut. Webni, cleanse me. Wujani, heal me. Hekni, guide me. Jedni, speak to me. Anuk Sejamen, I am listening. Duao. And now let's speak beautiful words into the water. Beautiful affirmations. Anuk Neferet, I am good, beautiful, and successful. Anuk Mer, I am love. Anuk Merit, I am beloved. Anuk Sekem, for the men, I am strong. Anuk Sekamet, for the women, I am strong. Keni Kerep, I have clarity. Anki Neferet, my life is beautiful, it's wonderful, successful, it's good. And you can use English to speak other words in affirming words. I accomplish my goals. My path in life is beautiful, it's strong. I deserve the best in life as I live up to the best of my ability. I strive for goodness. I achieve goodness. Let's drink. Oh, yes, I am at one with the divine. Anukwemwe. Let's drink. Oh, wait. Okay. By giving honor to the life force. Let me pause that for just a moment. Tuare have to wear benef. Emma kerab dead and pet. Anacharaki Kepri. Kepri came on the cheru. Hake webenek. Pesid mutek. Hake tiam sutan the cheru. Erinek mutnut. Eyus. Irit. Nini duare have to a benef. Emma kerab dead and pet. En, en, en. Wow, give thanks and praise. And let's take a moment to think of all the things that we're grateful for. What are you grateful for? I'm grateful for love. I'm grateful for self-love as taught by Khatmayit. I'm grateful for the love of the divine. I'm grateful for the love of community. I'm grateful to be able to give love to the divine, to community, to myself. I'm grateful for learning and continuing to learn, and for teaching and for sharing. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be in service to the community. I'm grateful for the lessons and the blessings. Give thanks. Reverend Tamu, how are you this evening? Duau. Okay. Please put in the chat, what are some of the things that you are grateful for? Even if you're going through a rough patch right now, there should be something that you can think of. Egunshola. Do I know you? Give thanks. Duau. I'm good. I'm blessed. And you say you're grateful for health. I'm glad to know that. Give thanks. Give thanks. Okay. And I'm going to make this part of the ceremony a bit brief because Mills, how are you? Oh my goodness. It's so good to see you. Reverend Tamu says, doing well. Oh, thank you. Oh. Oh, Chaffers, wow. I'm so sorry. That's so sad. I'm sending love and prayer energy right now to your family for the tragedy that's been suffered. And I pray that the husband and 7-year-old twins are at peace, and that your cousin is able to find peace. Mills, what's shaking? I haven't heard from you in a while. You got to reach out to me. Reverend Tamu says, life is good, and the divine within me wants me to never give up. Yes. You know, Cher at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame made a speech, and that was one thing that she encouraged you to never give up, because she said that in her life she just never ever gave up in spite of all the challenges, in spite of people looking down on her at different times and doubting her, and her always overcoming, because she never stopped believing in herself and she never ever gave up. That's a really important lesson. Atef says, life, health, strength, my family and friends. Give thanks. And I'll tell you, the things that you post about your beautiful wife and your beautiful children, always so uplifting, just uplifting to me and encouraging. I love it. Give thanks. Okay. Look forward to hearing from you, Mills. Okay. If you didn't see the Chaffers, if you didn't see, Brandon says sorry for your loss. Okay. So let's get into the message. And Atef says he sends his condolences as well. So tonight we're going to be talking about Nuit. And as I had mentioned in the beginning, for those of you who weren't here, she is depicted as the overarching woman. And, let's see if there should still be a graphic that I have in here in my folder. Let's see. Where is she? She represents the Milky Way. Not too many people are familiar with that. Well, let me do this. Let me bring in as an overlay. Oh, there she is. Oh, well, that's not just her. Okay, well, all right. Let me just share this with you. And there's a story that goes along with this. This is not the one that I want to share with you, because the story is a little complicated. But let me show you this one. Oh, okay. So I've got a new setup here. let me let me let me take myself out. See, this is what I get for not being on as long as, because Restream changed a whole bunch of stuff. I opened it up the other night and I was just like, what's this? What's happening here? So I said, well, I'll have to play around with this later. I just got to fly with this now. This is not opening here. Oh, that's because it's the background. Okay. Take that out. Please forgive me. Let me try to bring in this graphic. And I'm still amazed. I've had this program for a couple of years, and a lot of my graphics from a few years ago when I first started are still on here. Actually, everything that I did not remove, which is a blessing. So let me just do this. Let me show you the flyer if you didn't see it, because I have an image of Nuit on it. I know most of you are familiar with Nuit. There we go. Okay, so now here's the question: can you hear me? Because they took away the gauge to show if you're still being heard. Were you able to still hear me? I don't have the bar here that shows you if you're still heard when. Yeah, I'll have to take a day this week and just play around with this stuff. Okay, so you were able to hear me. Okay, I guess they did change a lot of things. All right, put the sound bar back though. I need to send a message to them. Anyway, okay, so she is the Milky Way, and the Milky Way is sort of as sort of thought of as being this cosmic cloud of dust and stars, right? Newt is right. Her name means it's one of the equivalents of night. I don't know why you have Nit, Apep, or Enpu or Anubis listed up there, Ma'adre, but we're not talking about them tonight. Newt is associated with the water jar. Do I have anything? Well, even if we were to think of this, okay, but she's the water jar. And Shay Coulter, it's so good to see you. Peace and blessings. I always look forward to when you go to the mic at city council meetings. You always bring such relevant information. So she represents the jar that contains water. So the male aspect is new. New is the ocean of limitless possibility. So it's just it, on the one hand is very positive because that means it's unlimited potential. Okay, but just like with an ocean in the water that's flowing in and out, it's not really contained. Newt is the container. She's part of the what is known as, or they are part of what is known as the Agdoad, and with each of them, the male has a certain energy, and the female ends up giving shape to it. So she is the shape, the container. She's the sacred container. Now, most people also associate her with being the mother of Wasir, Aset, Setesh, Nebuchadnezzar, and Heru the elder. Not Heru, the son of Aset and Wasir. No. This is the uncle, the brother, Heru the elder. And so people associate her with giving birth to them and also being mated to their father, Geb, the earth. But a lot of people don't realize that there's so much more that goes along with her imagery. I'm going to pull this graphic up again, and I want you to notice in it that her body has stars in it. And there's a reason. All right, it's symbolic. Now, again, it's the image that's at the top left of your screen. That body full of stars, it represents community. She is the vessel. She's able to create life, and she is able to connect others Okay. Her body, in and of itself, represents community. And if you would think of each of those stars as a person or an entity, then you would get the idea. And the universe, of course, is full of stars. She is the container of a particular batch of stars, but she is a protector of them, a keeper of them, but also she is one who is able to send them to Earth, as she did with her five children, Wasir, Osset, Nebuchadnezzar, Setesh, and Heru the Elder. So what's interesting is that her name, Nut, also means community. Community. So now the question is, what exactly does community mean to you? It takes on different forms. You know, we see this form with Newt, okay, and her symbolism, but we have all different levels of community. It could be the people on your block, it could be the people in your building. Where I live, there are only three other apartments above me. There are four in this building. There are five next door, and then behind me, in the street behind me, there's a huge building that Shack owns that has all these floors and all of these apartments. And that's a community in and of itself. Whenever you have any kind of a building where any edifice where people who go on a regular basis or they live there, then that's one level of community. Now, let's extend that. So, we're not the only brownstone on this street. So, if you keep walking, you'll find that there are more, and they're similar to this. So, we don't have a lot of foot traffic on our street. It's a very quiet street. Even though we have a train that's nearby, and even though we're not far from the highway, still it's a very quiet street. And so we really don't get to see people from Shaq's building unless they're walking their dogs on our street, right? But community could be beyond this building, the one that's next door because it's owned by the same person. And, you know, we check in on each other as neighbors, right? You know, I was talking with the young man who does the caretaking here yesterday, and we were talking about problems with folks who are stragglers, you know, folks who are loitering. And, you know, that seems to have picked up this year. But the police are supposed to be doing more foot on the beat, you know, officer on the beat kind of a thing, in order to help to regulate that, right? But the community itself could also be the entire block. I do know some of my neighbors down the street, which is a lot more than I can say when I lived up in the suburban area of Newark, and I knew the congressman across the street because he was right across the street, and the neighbors upstairs, and that's really all I knew, you know. Uh, but community can also be, well, my gym is right over there, so I consider that part of my community. You know, also the library is right over there. It's not a far walk, and neither is the museum, but I spend a lot of time at the library. So I've developed a bunch of friends over there, people who you see on a regular basis, people who know you and are um, um, glad to see you coming. You're glad to see them. And, you know, you build up a relationship a lot of times that goes beyond your time at the library. So, you know, like I mentioned the other night, that one of the librarians had invited me to an event that he was speaking at, you know, and it was another community event, and with a bunch of people that I know, but not in this group. And it was so odd to walk in and see everybody that I knew from this and this and this and this, you know, and that here we all found ourselves in the same space, and all the people most of the people that I knew were not really connected to the others in the space like that, right? But because this one young lady held this program for the new moon that was something that spoke to everybody who was there, they showed up for it. So she was able to build community by bringing these different entities together because of a singular purpose. Okay. And in that situation, she wanted to be able to bring healing to the community. Uh, I mentioned about our brother who is on the line now, who I always see on the air or in person when I go to city council meetings. And that's another aspect of community. There are people who go and make it their business to really, because of their care and concern for our city, go and speak up about the relevant issues in order to help to heal our city. Okay. And um and as part of the newer community, now we're talking about the city as part of this very multifaceted but still somewhat unified city. And it's unified. Why? Because we all lived here. I'm not saying that we're all on the same page, but the fact is that we all live here. So Newark, this is our community. And I belong to a bunch of other different groups, activism groups, all here who have a concern for the city. That's another level of community. When I took the presidency, when I was asked to take the presidency 4 years ago, turned it down for the local National Action Network. But then 4 years later, in that whole Sankofa piece I was talking about, decided, you know what, I'm ready for that. Let me go back and get that. And so that took on another level of community, or another level of community was taken on, because I said, okay, so now who do I need around me, to be my officers, and what members do I want to pull in? And so, because you try to have a vetting process, so it's not just everybody or anybody, because you have a focus and a purpose that you want to achieve. Again, with our chapter, we are on the issues that are going on here in the city. The Brick City chapter is about that. So that's another level of community. So what does community do? Ideally, what does community do? Community should be about support. It should be about looking out for one another. It should be about being mindful of resources. And, I've talked the last 2 years about the importance of checking in on each other, making sure that no one is in need. The book of Ankh Shashanki, for those of you who have your Husia, you'll find on page 64, where it says, may the elder brother of a town, hold on. May the elder brother of the town be the one to whom it is entrusted. May the kindest brother of the family be the one who acts as elder brother for it. This is talking about basically a pecking order in terms of making sure that everyone is okay. And when you have a structure and a set of rules, whether it is based on family, whether it's based on what society has decided, or both, then people know what to expect. And so to go on, may I have something and my relatives have something, so that I may eat my own without holding back. May the floodwater never fail to come. May the field never fail to flourish. May children do honor to their father and mother. May the moon follow the sun and not fail to rise. This is, of course, talking about the natural course of things. May I recognize my friends, that I may share my goods with them. May I recognize my brother and sister, that I may open my heart to them. So being with people who you trust and who are going to look out for you and making sure that you're not in need is a major part of community. I mentioned before that, when I lived over in the Weequahic area of the city, and I lived on a short block, it was up in the cut. If people would drive me home, or even sometimes Uber drivers, they would pull up and they'd be like, "This is Newark? This is Newark?" Which is actually the reaction I had the first time I went down that street. But it's not good to live someplace that's considered ideal and not know your neighbors. You don't know who could be suffering right next door to you simply because the fact that people won't speak to each other. It's not like I don't speak. I'm that person that speaks, okay? And even though I'm on the spectrum and at times don't feel like talking to nobody, okay? which can sometimes be a little problematic, in terms of talking about community and sustaining community. But if people know you, then they'll understand, okay, this is sort of a standoffish kind of a day, respect your space. But for the most part, though, because I do believe so strongly in community, and because the fact that I'm a leader of a number of different groups, I will force myself to speak. And I am very much interested in who lives around me and being able to build something of a neighborly relationship in case, something happens. Something happens to somebody and you don't know, and they live right next door to you. You've heard stories of people who have died in their apartment alone, people who have been sick and laid up there for hours with nobody to help them. And in a true society, we should not have that. It should not be. There's an activist group that I belong to where I've had conversations over and over again with the leader of the group about the fact that he should give a damn about who is in the group, what the needs are. And it's not about getting out here and fighting all these causes for all these other people when there are internal issues with the members that need to be addressed. And I don't mean like conflict or anything like that. I mean like not like having food scarcity, okay, like having a problem with the Veterans Administration, like having problems with homelessness, all these very practical issues that should be addressed among people who are out there fighting for various causes. When we get caught up in dealing with the external, Shawan, how are you? It's good to see you. When we're caught up in dealing with the external, it's an easy way to scapegoat yourself from dealing with the people who are right here, right up in your face on a regular basis. I think it's cowardly, personally, to just focus on the external instead of the people who are around you all the time. If I'm in the trenches with somebody, then I need to know what's going on. I want them to know what's going on with me. Okay? And for us to be able to hold each other up. It's not about being out there holding up signs and megaphones and all of this. Yes, it brings attention to a cause, but what about all of the causes within the group? That's a huge level of denial. And it's a level of superficiality when you do not deal with the problems that are right there. You don't want to hear about it. Or you hear about it, you intentionally let it go in and out of your head. It's not cool. And then people start feeling worthless because even though you've expressed your need to X, Y, and Z people, especially to the people who are the head, and you see that nobody is responding to it, then it starts making you feel like dirt. Look at all the words that we said in the opening, okay, that we are speaking into the water, okay, Nefret, good, beautiful, successful, wonderful, okay, mer, merit, love, beloved. You need to be around people who are going to reassert that, okay? To reinforce that. And we need to make sure that we do what we can to help uplift our own communities. And this is taking it from the person to person thing, but also making sure that there is wellness where you live. You know, when I first got into like serious conscious community, serious spiritual conscious community, that's what I want to say. And now I won't even, the serious and spiritual conscious community don't go together in dealing with this. When I first got into some of the ATR communities, African traditional religious communities, there were many that chose not to get involved in what was happening in their world, in their group, in their community, and who said that doing something like voting was just a waste of time. Whatever happened was going to happen. You need to just focus on what's happening with you and the Necheru. I'm like, how does this make sense? In Kemetic community, let's say, the idea is to become awakened. Now, what does that mean? It doesn't mean that you're walking around acting like you're better than everybody else because of the fact that you are so very aware and because you have reached some new lofty insights about things, and this makes you want to be just so detached from the world that you don't want to deal with the world. No. In Kemetic community, the awakened state is Herukuti, the doubly awakened Heru, the double light, okay, of illumination, of the illumined one. And that right there should make you want to be involved, because once you see, then you have a responsibility to do something about the things that are wrong in the world. We're talking about the Husia. On page, let's see. So many powerful writings. But one thing in particular in the wise instruction that talks about here it is. Yes, this is from the book of Ptahotep. And page 46. Now, this is the section that talks about if you're a powerful person, gain respect through knowledge and gentleness of speech and conduct, give commands only where necessary and fitting. Those who abuse their authority provoke resistance, and those who place themselves above others are brought low. This is the line that I think is so extremely pertinent. Be not silent when it is your duty to speak, but be cautious in your speak lest you offend. And when you answer the angry, show self-control and so on and so forth. But the main thing is not being cowardly when it is time to speak out. We see so many things wrong in this society. It's very easy to hide in your religion or your activist group or your social group or your bowling team or so many things, instead of being plugged in to what is really going on. Now listen, I'm not saying you can't have some chill time. Last night I took some chill time for myself and I watched Coco. I mentioned Coco the other night. Okay, it's become my favorite, one of my favorite go-to movies when I need to just sit and enjoy. You need that. You need to have balance in order to not lose your mind. But to stay in a place of denial. You know, some people will use replacements. Um, what do they call it? Like alternate facts. They live in that space, and it's not reality. We talk a lot about ma'at, mispronounced ma'at, but a lot about ma'at and how this is our foundation. And what is that? That is truth, order, justice, harmony, reciprocity, balance. Starting with truth. And the root of ma'at, which is ma'a, which means to see. If you walk down the street and find somebody laying there bleeding, are you just going to keep walking? Are you going to call the police, call an ambulance, somebody to try to get this person help? You know, here in Newark, we unfortunately, you know, because there are so many wonderful things that have come from being in the city. You know, a lot of growth and expansion. Not always great, but I mean, there's been a lot of positive change, but there still needs to be a lot of work done because the fact that there has been a rise in the homeless population here. That's just one example. And so, unfortunately, we find a lot of people who are just laying out on the street. First thing I do is stop and make sure they're breathing. Okay. Then I have to make an assessment about whether they're just like trying to get some sleep. Like I walk to the park and through the park all the time. And this brother was laid out there just asleep. I mean, out. And he had his duffel bag with him. So I knew that he was one of our neighbors with no addresses. And so I said, you know, let me just show him some respect, because obviously he's found a spot where he feels he can just get some sleep without being bothered. And so I went to the library, and then when I came out, and I'd been there for a little while, and he was still there, but he seemed like he was sleeping soundly, and so I left him alone. But there are other cases where I have to call the police because it looks like somebody is like on their way out of here. You do something generally. And I gave the extreme example of somebody bleeding, because usually it takes something like that for people to respond, as opposed to someone who's laid out on the street, and whether you don't know if they're, you know, if they're homeless, you don't know if they're dealing with a drug habit, you don't know. But the point is, you should not be so callous to where you just walk past and don't care. I found myself shocked when I entered so-called conscious spiritual community and found that there were so many people who were just living in a bubble and continued to pull people in to their bubble, or they sought out in. And any talk of anything with reality, politics, social ills, no, we don't discuss that here. Okay, there are certain places you don't discuss politics. But if you're living on this planet, then you should be concerned about what's going on in your community, politically, and also in your world in general. I have to say, we're at a really crucial time in our country right now. I went to a rally today that folks and politicians in the Puerto Rican community, activists and politicians in the Puerto Rican community, held in order to support Kamala Harris, especially because the fact that there was that comment about Puerto Rico being a floating island of trash. So, you know, I mentioned the other night that both parts of my bloodline have been hit or under attack. We had the mention about Haitians stealing pets and eating your pets. That's my blood. And then Puerto Ricans and just being trash. That's my blood too. I am seeing behavior that I haven't seen since the 60s. I was born in 1960. And even though I spent a lot of time here in Newark, well, I was born in Elizabeth, spent a lot of time here in Newark because my father's business was here for 25 years. And also I had family here. My sister worked here. My uncle worked at City Hall. Another cousin that's been a paralegal here at the government building for 30 years. And I have a lot of folks who live here. I always make a joke about how I can barely leave the house without running into a cousin. I got cousins all over the place. Um, but Oh, Elijah, is that you? Oh, much love. I'm sitting here, I'm going, Elijah, Elijah. Okay. Yeah, thanks. I'll be giving you a call tomorrow. I hope that everything is well with you and E and the children. See, so many beautiful people that just pop up. This is community, just people that I know from different places and just so I was saying, um, so Newark has been my community. Elizabeth has been my community because I have family there too, and I was born there. But I was raised in Kenilworth. I hated Kenilworth. Well, no, the thing I loved about Kenilworth was the fact that I saw my grandparents every day. My grandparents had the boldness to come from North Carolina as sharecroppers and move to Elizabeth because it was said at that time that if you were looking for a job and you couldn't find a job in Elizabeth, that's because you weren't looking. There were factories galore. So they got factory jobs, saved money, and then became business owners and property owners. And they built a home well, first they got property in Elizabeth. Then they built a beautiful home in Roselle. And they built their business in Elizabeth. I'm sorry, in Kenilworth, which was a cross-burning town. We lived with the Klan. And our Black community was literally on the other side of the tracks, pushed all the way up against the edge of town. And this is Kenilworth. Kenilworth is only 2 square miles by 2 square miles. Okay. But our little Black community was here. And here was literally the railroad track. And we only had a little teeny portion over here. And if we walked to other areas, other neighborhoods in town, there would be folks who would come out and say, you don't belong here. Go home. I grew up seeing crosses burned. It was a while before I understood what I was looking at. Because where we lived, it faced the water tower where they used to burn the crosses. And so I used to see that on a regular basis. Going to school with people who can't stand you. Going to school with parents who resent the fact that you're there, especially if you're in the accelerated classes. It was pretty horrible. I mean, there were things that I can say about it making me strong, and the fact that my grandparents taught us not to fear any man, and taught us that you can be anything that you want to be. You can do anything that you want to do. But I had the security of seeing my grandparents every day because they were hardworking people. And they worked the family business, which was the bar and the restaurant. And then also there was a banquet hall they had downstairs in the basement. Every day. Every day. So, and I remember starting kindergarten and not understanding why I was forced to go to school with these people who didn't look like me and who couldn't stand me. Getting called the N word in kindergarten by a fellow kindergartner. Kids not wanting to play with you. What I do? I really didn't understand what I was being punished by going to school. I really did. And I could not wait until my mother or my grandfather would come and pick me up in the station wagon to take me back home. Teachers programming into you that you'll never be anything. Don't expect too much. There won't be opportunities out there for you. Well, maybe you can get a job as a maid. And by the time I was in seventh grade, I wanted to join the acting club, and I joined. And I remember Mrs. DeFilippo telling me, well, why would you want to do that? You'll only be able to get parts being a maid. Now, at that time, that's when Julia was on TV. Okay, Diane Carroll, the star of her own show. That's when, because that was 1972. So you had Sanford and Son, also eventually. You had the Flip Wilson show that had been on. There were a succession of shows that had been on that were Black shows, and also who had people who were not playing maids. In fact, the only maid that I remember seeing was Florence on the Jeffersons, and even then, she had some cockiness about her. Okay, she was a respected character, but for her to just speak all of that negativity into me, I quit the drama club, and I said to myself, I'm not letting this woman try to tell me what I'm going to be and what I can't do. And now I have a career as an artist. That's been my life. Actress, dance. My family paid for me to go to dance school. I played flute, saxophone, ultimately then guitar, piano, and then percussion. Why? Because my family told me I could, in spite of what others said. Now, I did have some teachers that saw my talent and did nurture it, but that was a very small number, very small. There were advantages of going to school in Kenilworth. I mean, I started learning Spanish in seventh grade. And during that time, that's when it was, there was a lot of experimental stuff going on. So one of my comrades in one of the groups that I belonged to, she was telling me about how here in Newark, she was part of an experimental group where they took like the really smart Black kids and put us in with the accelerated white kids, and how basically they were tracking us. And we realized that it was all part of the same program. So I was able to start taking Spanish in seventh grade and eighth grade, and then I continued through high school. And there were other perks, but ultimately, when you go to school every day, you don't feel good about yourself because you're around people who don't feel good about you. It's something that's ingrained in you. Going into stores and being watched all the time in your little town. I mean, this is something that would happen in a lot of different places, but I mean, that's another reason why I couldn't wait to get out of Kenilworth and go and visit with my cousins elsewhere, So, community. My community in Kenilworth, our Black community, was amazing. Absolutely amazing. We were small, but we were strong. And then on top of that, the fact that my grandparents owned this bar and restaurant meant that we were the local watering hole. So we had a lot of people that came to what we call the place. This was people from Kenilworth, but not just Kenilworth, people from everywhere, from Newark, from Jersey City, from New York, And so I saw my grandparents flex their power muscle, but also they demonstrated the power of community, because it was really an extended family for me, you know? And to say the people who were bar patrons were your family, that's a lot. It was a different time, I know, but still, this was my family. And they poured into me, they poured positivity into me. And when you're in situations where you're up against it with people who don't believe in you as a child, and you're forced to go to this institution where you're just, and what's really funny is that you'll have people who will find out, oh, you lived in Kenilworth, or you grew up in Kenilworth, excuse me. No, listen, you don't understand. It's a whole different thing when you're forced to go to school with people who are not like you and who don't like you. But it does make you strong. You either buckle or you build. My grandparents and my mother taught me to build. They fueled programming into me that was reflecting us. I remember my mother going to the theater and going to see the Negro Ensemble Company, she and my stepdad, because he poured into me too. And it was always about Black theater, also Black TV shows. My mother having us watching educational shows, and especially about our people, and explaining all these different things, getting books for us, the Negro Encyclopedia, okay, and other cultural books. This was very progressive. I turned around and did the same thing with my kids. What you pour into a child is everything, but especially when you're in a world where you're just up against it. Community. Community shapes you. Community sustains you, okay? And I also remember the fact that my mother got involved. She was the secretary for the NAACP in Elizabeth. She also was president of the Women's Auxiliary for 25 years in our little church, but she spread out beyond that and became the president of the Women's Baptist, the New Jersey Women's Baptist Association. But even so, beyond that, she was the first Black Girl Scout leader in Kenilworth, completely unheard of. My father, he was the first Black man that was accepted into the New Jersey Tool and Die Association. Now, he came from South Carolina and left the family farm. And the family had acres and acres and acres and acres and acres and acres. We have a whole road named after us, Lloyd Road. But he left there because he knew there was something else calling him, and came up here and became an entrepreneur. I had a lot poured into me. And when you're separated from that, you lose a sense of identity. Well, you can lose a sense of identity. You can feel lost, even though deep down you know who you are. But when you get around others who are like you, like-minded, same notion of how to live, same principles, same goals, same passion for living, same concern, that helps you to remember. It helps you to feel fulfilled, and it helps you to feel safe and sustained, because ultimately in community you should feel safe. You should feel loved, and you should feel good about who you are. I remember in 2011, I had this student that was down in North Carolina, and she was getting ready to move to North Carolina, and she was saying, at the time I was trying to decide where I was going to be. I was back to living in Elizabeth at that point. And she was saying, "Oh, Queen Mother, it's so nice where we're moving to, and it's so inexpensive. And you should just think about it, think about moving down there. And I would love you to be close by." And I'm thinking, okay, so you want me to sacrifice everything for you? Okay. One person. But still, it sounded intriguing, right? So I was like, okay, yeah. She sent me all this information. And then, listen, I was this close to moving. You know what stopped me? I came into Newark and I stood on the corner of Broad Market. I said, I can't go. All of the life, the familiarity, the culture, all of it. I said, I can't go. And I didn't. We have a strong community that is here. We go through our trials, and we have those who try to break it up. We have outsiders who come in and who come and try to impose their notion of what we should be, who don't know anything about us. Instead of trying to fit into the community, they try to have us adapt to them, and that's wrong and disrespectful, to be very honest with you. What is community to you? And have you felt compelled enough to get involved with the politics? That's a lot. And, I have to tell you also, I had a lot of years as a working artist, focusing on raising my kids and all of this, where I was not involved in local politics because I was just concerned with making sure my kids were all right. I'd be up at the school. As far as anything with the Board of Education, I'd be there in a heartbeat. Every year, I introduced myself to whoever the new teachers were, let them know if there's a problem, call me, okay? And so I was very involved in that way. I became involved with PTA and this kind of thing. But as far as anything with the town politics, I was not involved. This is when I lived in Phillipsburg, New Jersey, which turned out to be another Klan area. I didn't know I moved my kids to Klan country. I did not know, but it made us stronger. It made us stronger. And in the same way that today, if somebody gave me a house in Kenilworth, I wouldn't take it. Living in Warren County, it's the same thing. And I told my children, when you graduate from high school and you go to college, don't come back here. I'm not going to be here. And you want more for yourself. I ended up having to do all this work of pouring into my children the same way because, but they went in with a strong sense of self and all of that because it was like, oh no, we're not doing that. I was on it from when my daughter came home and asked me, Mommy, what's the N-word? What is that? I said, where'd you hear that from? And she said a fellow kindergartner called her that. Now here's 20 years later. Same thing. I was up at that school like this. And a lot of parents were very resentful because my children went into school knowing how to read. I taught them how to read when they were 3. Resentment, how they learn this, where, how dare you, who you think you are, you uppity nigga, But it made us strong. And I knew that was not my community. And it was not the community I wanted my children to be able to claim. What is community to you? How hard are you willing to fight for it? Do you go out of your way to connect with people who are like-minded? I find that there are many people I connect with who have lived in a number of different places, and we have a shared heart. When you live in different places, it gives you a great deal of insight as to who you are, what's going on in the world beyond where you came from, and what you choose to take with you. And when you're able to connect with other people who have been through the same experiences, then I find that it makes things, it makes a very special kind of bond and friendship. But bottom line, what shaped you? What shapes you? And going back again to being involved and being knowledgeable about what is happening in your world. Queen Mother Wakila, how are you? It's so good to see you. Give thanks and praise. Community. What's going to happen after Tuesday? Some people think that their votes don't matter. You know, there was a period of time where I didn't vote either. I actually started buying into some of this stuff, even though I wasn't down with what some of the spiritual folks were saying and trying to hide in the temple. Then there was the other group of people where it was just like, well, politically, what you do doesn't matter because the government is this way and this way and this way, you know. And when you start buying into that and you become paranoid and disengaged, then it's not an advantage at all. I found that once I truly woke up and realized that I needed to get involved, I needed to be aware, I needed to be able to speak my voice on different matters going on where I lived. And the only way that change was going to happen was if I was one of those people who spoke out. And sometimes you speak out about something and you find that there are a bunch of other people who feel the exact same way, and they were just waiting for somebody to speak up because they were too afraid to. So you do a great service when you speak up. I brought up last year at a city council meeting about the fact that there are a lot of ADA compliance issues here in Newark. And I just mentioned it that one time as somebody who deals with various challenges, you know, being on the spectrum, living with epilepsy, having lung sensitivities. I'm, like I told you, I'm a lot better, but still I have to be mindful of a lot of different things. And so since then, there has been a brother who basically has taken up the mantle and who has been pressing this issue with the lack of compliance with the ADA ever since. It's necessary. It's absolutely necessary. And I tell you, I have learned to be a lot more aware for myself about speaking up for myself as a person living with challenges, because the world in general does not give a damn. And there are times where you have to go out of your way and fight for what is right. Let me just share this passage with you. Elijah says, alignment frequencies that share similarities in purpose and struggle. Those looking for growth within, I can't make that out, and within our immediate circles and bigger circles. Yes, indeed. And I don't know if you were on, Elijah, when I was talking about going to the beautiful circle that the space that we were in the other night. And I mentioned it when I spoke a couple nights ago too. And I mean, just all these like-minded people. And I'll tell you, I'd forgotten about it. I forgot about the event. And just as soon as I stood in front of my altar and finished doing my giving my attentiveness to it, I stood there and I said, I need to be somewhere tonight. I'll say it out loud. I need to be somewhere tonight with like-minded people. And then I remembered that one of the librarians had invited me to this event. Took out my phone and looked it up. Boom. And it was 15 minutes until the event. I said, okay, let's go. and had a beautiful, beautiful time. And I said, the community has expanded. It continues to expand in such a beautiful way in my world, you know. And it's not just a matter of what people can do for me. It's a matter of how we can share together. Again, I'm a strong believer. May I know my friends so that I may share my goods with them. You know, the whole thing about sharing, not keeping things to yourself. So, and just another example, there's a brother from one of the groups that I belong to who sends out texts to a group of us on the regular saying, I have such and such groceries today. Do you want some? If so, let me know. You can come by the house at such and such time. This brother sacrifices his home, letting people come and pick up groceries. And so I let him know if I'm coming or not. And he gives me so much stuff. So for the stuff that's too much, then I walk it down to this. Um, um, it's a food, not so much a drop off place or a place where people can go and pick up food. And so and they encourage people to leave food there. I kind of have a problem with that because you don't know. Some people could stick a hypodermic needle in a melon and put it in there. You know, I think there needs to be more quality control with that. But in the meantime, the stuff I bring down there is sound. Okay, so I just walk it down to there because I know that there'll be somebody who will use it, and that's again part of community. And then what's interesting with that is that the people who utilize that food closet don't live in this neighborhood, but we in this neighborhood have accepted, even though the organization that be nice queen mother that put that up didn't bother to ask us in the neighborhood if we wanted to hear, we basically accepted, okay, this is helpful to people. So, you know, okay, now we've got this problem with people hanging out that shouldn't be, but that'll get resolved. You know, overall, it's serving a good purpose, and it is part of the community. Okay, I was going to share this with you. It's so funny. You put your glasses down. You're always looking for your glasses. Okay. In fighting for what you believe in and fighting against oppressors, it says here in the stela of Setoisir the third, and it says here Sesotris the third. Okay. Okay, so he says, I am a king who speaks and acts. I was talking the other day about people leaving their epitaphs behind, you know, on the walls. They would post their biography and post their accomplishments or have it done. They wouldn't do it, but they would have it done for them. I have made my boundary further south than my father's. I have added to what was bequeathed me. I am a king who speaks and acts. What my heart plans is done by my arm. One who attacks to conquer, who is swift to succeed, in whose heart a plan does not slumber. Considerate to clients, steady in mercy, merciless to the foe who attacks him. One who attacks him who would attack, who stops when one stops, who replies to a matter as befits it. To stop when attacked is to make a bold is to stop when attacked is to make bold the foe's heart. Attack is valor. Retreat is cowardice. A coward is he who is driven from his border, since the Nubian listens to the word of mouth. To answer him is to make him retreat. Attack him and he will turn his back. Retreat and he will start attacking. This is something that really is not spoken of a lot when it comes to the Kemetic writings, because there's this notion that being Kemetic means that you're supposed to be some kind of a sap that can be walked all over because you're all about just the peace vibe all the time. No. In Kemet, there were warriors. They had an army. And people always talk about the police actually starting, the notion of police actually starting with the clan. But policing the community and the borders goes all the way back to ancient Africa. Okay? If you have an invader, I give this example all the time. If you have an invader that's trying to break in your house, are you going to sit back and watch? Or are you going to do something to prevent it? How much do you care about yourself and your family? And your things? You have a lock on the door for a reason. We don't live in communities where, unfortunately, where you can just leave doors unlocked. It's a nice idea. In some places, actually, yeah, you can. But I mean, for the most part, you have a lock. You have a lock on your car. You have a lock on your door. When you go to the gym, you have a lock for your locker. Okay. I mean, you're concerned about protecting your stuff, justifiably. And if you know that there is an invasive force in your neighborhood, like somebody just who's doing all this breaking and entering, you do what you can to either get the person out, have the person caught, and make sure you safeguard yourself and your family. It's the same idea with political awareness and being vigilant about the things that are wrong in your community, wrong in your world. This is where you have the obligation to speak and not just lay down and accept. I have to say, one of the mistakes that I made was buying into the whole thing about not giving pushback, which is not the kind of person that I am. But because, truthfully, I was given incorrect teachings about what being a Kemite meant, that meant that I let a lot of stuff happen to me that I would have never let happen to me. Now I know better. When you know better, you do better. So the question is, what will you do? I'm seeing attitudes, like I had said before, that remind me of what it was like growing up in a place where I saw crosses burned on the regular. It should not be that way. We have progress that we have made as a society, but we still have a long way to go. And the fact that there are forces that are trying to yank us back, I'm not going back. I mean, listen, the trauma that we dealt with growing up under those circumstances, it takes a long time to work it out of your system. A lot. Overcoming oppression. It's about being in the fight, but it's also acknowledging that it takes its toll on you. Can you imagine if the clock is rolled back, so to speak, what it's going to be like? We already have so much trauma from the generational wounds. And then we have young people who just have no clue. They don't know what we came up in. Yes, there are challenges today, but a lot of our young people cannot recognize what that is and are trusting the wrong images that are being put out there because they don't know, because they didn't live through it. This is why it's important to not allow our history and culture to be erased. That is done to make it easier to bring back all of that old patterning, oppressive patterning, hyper oppressive patterning. When you don't know, then you can become a very easy tool and footstool for your oppressor. If you don't know to fight back, and I'm not talking about like picking up weapons and all this other stuff. We already have that to be concerned about. Whatever happens with the election, but I mean, again, being hyper vigilant and caring enough to want to make that change. Those of you who have been activists for a long time, like I have, and it's really funny because I know a lot of my classmates I went to school with from kindergarten all the way through high school are so shocked to see that I am this pro-Black super activist out here fighting for the well-being of my people, fighting for unity, yes, but fighting against the ills of the society. They're so shocked. But this is what shaped me. And I find that a lot of people who tend to be extremely active in the community, we're the ones who have generally suffered a lot in some ways. And we want to make that change. We don't want the next generation to suffer. Now, certainly we're not dealing with what our ancestors went through and with their ancestors, and that, but we still have new levels of oppression that are still here. We still have work to do. And so, in the name of community, and Nuit, who represents birth pains, holding community together, positive reinforcement, nurturing, perseverance, and hope, and birthing a positive future. That's what was represented through the birth of Wasir, Aset, Nebuchadnezzar, Satesh, and Heru the Elder. And yes, even listen, I've told you before, don't make all these negative assumptions about Satesh. He has his story too, okay? He has his purpose too. But the idea overall of giving birth to hope and being the mother of change makers. You were born for a purpose. You were born to be here and now for a reason. What will you do with your purpose? What kind of an effect do you have on your community? Are you isolated? Are you willingly isolated? Are you isolated because of the fact that you have people around you who don't care enough about you? That's not willing isolation. That's needing to have a change in who's in your circle. And I want to remind you, well, actually, you know what? Let me think about this. Actually, because I always talk about how all of the Necharu have some kind of a weapon associated with the people who think about that. You know, um, uh, uh, I mean, all kinds of stuff: sticks, machetes, scimitars. Uh, uh, all of them have something. Newt doesn't. That just occurred to me. Newt does not. I need to ponder that. But she gave birth to warriors, to those who were willing to fight, and then ultimately was the grandmother to Heru, who was the hope for the salvation of Kemet. What would you say her weapon was? Was it her ability to hold community together? You know what, I need to really think about that. All right. Okay. Any thoughts before we do libation, since we missed doing it earlier, and before we have our Huey Kares? Dwell, Brandon. He says, you're so correct. You know, I had intentionally skipped the Beset Besu prayer. I shook the sistrum in their honor and for the invocation, but I need to do the prayer. This is how we open our day. And in the same way that in Orisha traditions, the way is opened with Beset and Besu. And actually, you know what? Here's what I need to do, because the Chafer said maybe the Chafer said maybe Newt has a lightning bolt. Maybe. I think I might just stump myself. I need to really think about this. It was my intention to do the water prayer tonight because it's the Megillah protector prayer, protection prayer. Okay. Yunharechanu tepi iawi iaku duau em erit nebechanu seti ni enechanu. Show yourselves, ancient ancestors of light. Many thanks for all you have done. I pour libation to you. And let's take this moment where you are, call the names of your ancestors, starting with the maternal line and going to the paternal: Simmons, Blackman, Pridgeon, Exum, Whitley, Artis, Ortiz, Aldridge, Anderson, Lloyd, Yates, McLaughlin, Myers, Murray, Mosley, Salmon, Ely, Clyburn, Mayfield. Semni, help me. Yun Watni, open my roads. Te Ereset Cherbak Sekauches, restore my ancient memory of myself. Anuk Tepi Iawi Iaku Inanu, I am a returned ancestor of light. Imem Iaku Shepsutni, I Eshemni Em Yama, strengthen ancestors, my roots and branches in the tree of life. Yunharech Sishat, Yamada Sher Ank, Yuni Yadech Pet. Show yourself, Sishat, sacred tree of life. Open your heavenly mist to me. Yunharek Akeru, Yuni Besu Emta. Show yourself, Akeru. Open the doors of earth to me. Yunharech Beset, Yun Besuech Bekat. Show yourself, Beset. Open your doors of morning light. Yun harek besu. Bakni besu and besu and baknu besu and besu bekat. Show yourself, Besu. Protect me in the doors of morning light. Yun harech unut. Uni watuech. Unut emta. Show yourself, unut. Open your time portals of potential to me. Yun harek epwat. Wepwadu. Show yourself, Epwat. Open the roads. Yunharek Inpu. Hekni Emwadu. Show yourself, Inpu. Guide me through the roads. Heki Heket and Ni. Wuche Hatni. Anuk Wuchemank. Fight for me, Heket. Liberate my mind. I am reborn. Anuk Wajet. Inni Wajet Waj Nefer. I am the healer who bends energy. Bring me, Wajet, good health and abundance. Yunharek Jehuti, Ekni Rekek, Em Hetep, Nejni Seshmiher. Show yourself, Jehuti. I enter your lake in peace. Advocate for me, peacemaker. Shedni Yun Shetaut Em Yu. Deliver me. Open your mysteries within me. Anechni Nechemetewit, Nechemni. Advocate, avenge, and protect me, Nechemetewit. Save and deliver me. Wuchem. Anechni Nechemetewit. Nechemni. Advocate, avenge, and protect me, Nechemetewit. Save and deliver me. Wuchem. Anechni Nechemetewit. Nechemni. Advocate, avenge, and protect me, Nechemetewit. Save and deliver me. Nechtitni. Nechemetni Neferet. Nech Reni. Protect and my protector and defender, my beautiful Savior Redeemer. Protect my name. Wuserit, Herit and Chemut Hejenu. Sejem Nechemetni, powerful and wealthy Netshurt, chieftainess of the oppressed and oppressed women. Hear my cry. Shetani Shed im Sebeshniek. Shedi Ben em Merkabudadek. Cover me with your shield, Shed, Savior. Come quickly with your chariot. Wurekni Shedu. Work for me, heavenly protectors. Mut neferet hat mehit. Merit en mesu nebu. Good mother of fishes, abundance and abundant and full heart. Lover of mankind. Erdani menet mehit. Dini HEB, Anuk Mek MH. Give me abundant daily provisions. I give you my heart. I am crowned by you. Meni Nechat, Meni Chati Nechem. Neferet Meni Neferet. Keni. Grant me mercy. Grant me a sweet disposition. Refine me. Meruin. Abdu I Intu Pu Inwech. Shespi, lover of red cloth, the holy electrical Abu and Abdu and two fish are your conveyors. I receive. Taneb Anjati Pe Zayuni, Anuk and Ti Nensep. The Lord Anjati is my shepherd. I am never in need. Jebek Bani, you restore my soul. Nekuni em hekek I nekekek. Comfort me through your shepherd's crook and flail. Hekni em ma'et zayuni nafer, zayu nafer. Guide me to truth, harmony, justice, order, reciprocity, and balance, good shepherd. Yehi wasir ertep isetek iamet. I come, wasir, before your throne of grace. Semi meni wunefer wuja worek I nehat. Help me cultivate wunefer, health, wealth, and compassion. Sima katni semau. Katni sema. This is for vegans. I eat no flesh. I eat a plant-based diet. My body is clear. Anuk we and we, anuk neches. I am one from the one. I am resurrected. Yehi is set ertep is set yamet. I come is set before your throne of grace. Webi is set em remitech. Eri anech hatni. Eri anech hani. Hauni. Cleanse me with your tears, Iset. Heal my heart. Heal my family. Semni Nebuchadnezzar, Eri my eight. Help me, Nebuchadnezzar, to do what's right. Dinisha Isha em Nebet. I give respect to your cup of mastery. Dinisha Isha im Katni Ibni Ibani. I give respect to my body, mind, and soul. Keni Yehuches. I have self-control. Setekani Setesh in Sedek Henuyek. Dini Ek Shaisha. Protect and cover me, Setesh, from your storms. I give you respect. Simai nu Herek. Hepi. Inenu Tep Uhem em Samau. Samai Tawi im Sema. Semainu as your aspect, Hepi, bring us the new age of synthesis and transparency. Shameshni Kai Rek, I serve to elevate mankind. Anu Huchem Ank im Mirwek. Meni Ikani im Mirwek. I am reborn through your waters. Let me dance in your waters. Web Anket Mirwech. Yun Iaruech Mu. Anket, purify your waters. Open your reed, celestial city for me. Sema katni semau. Katni sema. I eat no flesh. I eat a plant-based diet. My body is clear. Anukek. Yeiaku. Anuk we em echenu. I am the reed of balanced correctness. Come, beings of light. I am one with you. Anuk tepwi Yahweh Yaku Enanu. I am a returned ancestor of the light gods and goddesses. Necheru. Her Yahweh in Yun Wahini. Therefore, Yahweh, God of gifts, bring and open my gifts. Erdani Kenemu Dudu Kapesh. Give me Kenemu, gifted hands. Zatni Zatit. Rudni em Zunech. Zatit, shoot forth your fresh waters upon me. I succeed with your arrow. Debani nit em hebdesherech. Erdani zemayut zep. Nit, restore me in your red tent. Bring me timely connections. Seserni sebek idudu. Protect me, sebek and dudu. Orekni, tawort. Yatni her ipet. Protect me, tawort. Nurse and embrace me as a pet. Tefeni tefnut em tefetch. Tefeni etch. Tefnut, propel me forward with your moisture. Tefnut, I appreciate and praise you. Iri mekurt. Anki mek. Mekurt, make my life full and well-rounded. Erdani nun hu. Nun, bring me limitless potential. Keper naunet, anki em tepi nefer. Nepi nutech ishet em ni. Nunet, Shape my life in the best possible success, goodness, and beauty. Pour your wealthy waters upon me. Erdani heteru merkai em hrwech. Merniches. Heteru, bring me higher love through all of your aspects. I love myself. Wuchem. Erdani heteru merkai em hrwech. Merniches. Heteru, bring me higher love through all of your aspects. I love myself. Wuchem. Erdani heteru merkai em hrwech. Merniches, heteru, bring me higher love through all of your aspects. I love myself. Sekni sarkit sarkwech. Imak ni uwait I Quebec. Shaesha ches. I gather strength, Sarkit, through your snow. I honor distance and coolness. I respect myself. Erdani kebut Quebec. Segenen sheshpetni. Anukgeru. Bring me coolness, Kibbut. Anoint my sacred white garb. I am self-mastered. Pekarani Pekit. Anukpek. Encircle me, Pekit. I am upright, sincere, and prudent. Duau nechurt necheru. Nechur necheru. Many thanks, limitless creatrix. Limitless creator. Nechherni necher netri. Protect me, divine life force. Iat yu nebu. Nebu kai. Nechurhek. Anukheru nebu. I embrace you all, ascended masters, eternal life force, all aspects of life. Iatni. Anuk tepi iawi iaku inanu. Embrace me. I am a returned ancestor of light. Erdani Imbu Kai. Take me to Erdani Imbuni Kai. That's what I pray every day. Take me to my higher place. Let's repeat that. Erdani Imbuni Kai. Take me to my higher place. Erdani Imbuni Kai. Take me to my higher place. Uhem. Erdani Imbuni Kai. Take me to my higher place. Divine Limitless Creator, we thank you so much for this time, this session. And as we close with Huey Karest, with our Comedic Eucharist, we ask that you would bless everyone who is listening, bring all that is necessary for the success in their lives to them at this crucial time. Let us act, let us act, let us act, let us do, and not just sit back with our hands folded or arms folded and acting powerless. Let us stand in our power. We are powerful, and our voices matter. Duau, duau, duau. Amen, amen. All right. Give thanks, give thanks, give thanks. Chaffers, I see the names of your ancestors. Love and light to them and to all of your divine ancestors of light. Give thanks. All right. How's everybody? We ready to do the Eucharist? Our Eucharist? Pandora, how you doing? Give thanks, give thanks, give thanks. It's so good to see you. I was wondering how you were doing. Sister Cynthia, thank you for being here. Okay. And so with this, and I want to say my personal ministry has to do with fighting for the underrepresented and the oppressed, the voiceless, the vulnerable. So that means the abused, it means women, it means children, it means our senior population, of which I'm a member, those of us who live with challenges, and those who find themselves to be extremely oppressed under unfair circumstances of law. So you should have your piece of bread and your red juice. And give thanks. This is my homemade sorrel. The Sacred Supper of Huit Kerest, known today as Eucharist, was created in ancient Kemet. The priests and priestesses of Osset honored the resurrection of King Wasir and the resurrection of life. We all face personal levels of resurrection daily. As we learn the lessons of this life, we strive to grow and leave behind the old and unnecessary habits and behaviors and move forward into higher consciousness. The blood that flows through our veins is of our ancestors. Huit represents the DNA, the ancestral blood that reaches back into the beginning of time. In African culture, we refer to the river of ancestors. The blood, or senef, of our ancestors flows through each of us, as our blood will flow through future generations. It is an endless stream. As we call on the light and wisdom of our high ancestors, or Iaku, our blood becomes purified. As such, we are mindful of giving respect, Shaisha, to the blood, Senef. When we become spiritually awakened, we take our places within the awakened body of consciousness, Christ consciousness, Kerest consciousness. Kerest means the mummified remains or body wrapped in swaddling strips. Death to the old, yet spirit lives on. It has victory over death. We, in our spiritual growth, have victory over death and in life as we put emphasis on spirit and are not stuck in matters of the flesh and mundane. The bread, te, symbolizes the body or Kerest. Please hold up your bread. Repeat after me. Necheru, bless this bread of life. Semek necheru, meshet angpen. I am the bread of life. Anuk meshet ank. I am the body of awakened consciousness. Anuk Kerest. My body is sacred. Katija ser. My spirit is of Nichir. Kani and Nichir. Thank you, God. Thank you, Nichir. Dwa Nichir. Wunem, eat. Please hold up your cup. Repeat after me. Necheru, bless this blood of life. Semek necheru, senef ankh pen. Semek necheru, senef ankh pen. My blood flows from the river of ancestors. Senefi sef sef ni im iaku. Webi, purify me. Thank you, Nichir. Twa Nichir. Baba, drink. Please hold up your cup. This cup is also you. It is a sacred chalice. You, like the cup, are a sacred vessel. Be mindful of what you fill your life with. Your life is sacred. Repeat after me. I am a sacred vessel. Anuk Imaku. My life is sacred. Anki Jaser. Amen. Amen. That concludes our service. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and visit me at www.imaku.info There you will find information about my programming, my lectures. You'll find my music. You'll find um, my doll line, which I have started again, and so many other things. And also, please reach out to shenuliving.com to find out more about classes and also about joining ASCAC, but also about being able to broaden your knowledge and also your personal comedic practice, if that's what you are interested in. Okay. The classes for ASCAC are not religious classes. They're not religious education. They're cultural and historic education. But I do give the breakdown, so that people have a better understanding of certain things. But we're studying our ancient scriptures right now, and the wise words of basically how to live successfully, because there are so many words left behind teaching us about the importance of living a good life. And I'll leave you with this very positive prayer. I say that the true origins of motivational words and wisdom comes from the wealth of wisdom left behind from ancient Kemet. This is called In Praise of Life, the Harper's Songs. This is from the tomb of King Intef. He is prospering. This is this fine prince. Death is a happy ending. One generation passes, another stays behind. Such has it been since the men of ancient times. The gods of long ago rest in their pyramids, and the great and blessed likewise lie buried in their tombs. Yet those who built great mansions, their places are no more. What has become of them all? I have heard the words of Imhotep and Hatu retold time and again in their narrations. Where are their dwellings now? Their walls are gone. Life something like something that has never been. There is no return for them to explain their present being, to say how it is with them to our gentle hearts until we hasten to the place where they have gone. So, let your heart be strong. Let these things fade from your thoughts. Look to yourself and follow your heart's desire while you live. Put myrrh on your head. Be clothed in fine linen. Anoint yourself with the God's own perfumes. Heap up your follow your heart, what you own behalf while on earth. Let not your heart be troubled. That day of mourning for you must come. And Wasir, weary hearted, will not hear their wailing. Weeping does not save the heart from the grave. Basically, what this means, it says, so spend your days joyfully and do not be weary in living. No man takes his things with him, and none who go can come back again. We read that again. So spend your days joyfully and do not be weary with living. No man takes his things with him, and none who go can come back again. Live your life joyfully. I know we're in challenging times right now, but try to find something positive in each day, just like we started out talking about blessings and how we're blessed. Remember that ultimately we are blessed. We're here. We have so much to be thankful for, so much more to do, so much more living that must happen. We say, Meria, which means much love. Heri, which means be at peace. Teni, which means to be accountable. Jebewi is also this way. but actually when it's joined, it's more like this. But Jebewi, which means to be merciful, and is the discharge of a debt. But remember to be merciful and kind to yourself in the appropriate way, and also to show mercy in times where it is applicable. All right? Have a blessed night. Thank you so much. Chaffers, look forward to hearing from you. Mills, reach out. Thank you so much. And have a really wonderful and peaceful evening. And please go to the polls. Maria.